as well as in this Nivar cyclone pieces as well, right? Saravanan, Shaktivel, thanks for the introduction. Can you enable screen share access so that I can share the deck with the team? Yes, thank you. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So first and foremost, right? So let's see. Let's make it in a presentable view so that you guys can see this. Are you able to see it? Right?
Right.
Is it visible? Okay. So before we go ahead, let's say probably like what I wanted to ask you is, so this is going to be let's say basically about how how an idea gets formed and how we wanted to let's say start a business out of an idea, right? So we get lots of different ideas, but what are the things that which we can make it to idea, like ideate and then get into a let's say something a product one, right? So the topic is very vast, right? And there are many parts of it. I don't think I can justify this topic very well in this short, let's say 90 minutes or 120 minutes of session. But I'm just going to give you a small let's say overview of what happens, and probably let's say we can discuss an idea and then see how this is like how we can take this into market, right? So we can have an interactive session, and then we'll also take let's say multiple successful examples have taken, what were their innovative philosophies and how they were very successful, right? So we'll look into like 6 or 7 successful examples, right? So that's the whole idea. So I wanted this discussion to be more and more, let's say, interactive, very, let's say, very less informal, right? Um, and let's try to let's say see how you can utilize my talents, and as well as what I can also learn from your talents and what you bring to the table. So let's keep it as a very interactive session. You can stop me anytime you want, and then we can go over from that one. Is that fair enough? Are the rules of engagement very clear to everyone? So I think there's a lot of silence. Can I assume that you guys are going to ask me questions if you have any uh, doubts during the session? Saravanan, am I audible? Shaktivel, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Audible, sir.
Okay. Now I was just expecting some kind of a consent, yes or no, from the team. Probably I'm gonna like let's say call out names, right? Let's say
Chat.
Molly, is that okay? Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So now I think, see, there are many principles in design thinking, right? So there is just like you don't have one let's say just there's only one way to solve a problem, right? There are multiple ways, but this is going to give you the first 5 steps, right? This is going to give you some kind of a structure how you can think through it, right? So just like an example, right? Let's say an algebraic equation or a trigonometric equation or a calculus equation, you can solve it in multiple methods, right? There are multiple ways to solve a problem, right? The starting point and the destination can be thing, but there are multiple routes to reach the destination. Likewise, there are multiple ways to solve a problem, right? But this is a structured way of doing it. So you can go do it in an unstructured word, burn your fingers, burn your resources, burn your money, burn your talent, everything, right? But this is a kind of a structured way that will probably, it is an optimal way to reach a destination. It may not fit everyone, but this is one structured way. The first way is to empathize the problem. First way is to internalize that, okay, there is a problem that exists, right? That there is an opportunity that exists, that which we can solve it, right? That problem, right? When you say in that step one, that empathize of that problem, it can be very, like it can be at a 30,000 feet level. It can be at a very macroscopic level, right? you can say that, okay, I want to solve the global poverty, right? So that could be a very massive place, right? Now, when you, right, so that it could be, and then when you say you talk to people, right? Okay, you say that, okay, hey, I want to solve this poverty issue, right? And then you want to go about it, right? You talk about it. Let's say you talk to Shaktivel, or you talk to, let's say, a couple of team members in your team, and you talk to, let's say, some resources, and then you try to, get some feedback, and then your thought process gets changed. Where you started at a 30,000 feet level, then you want to say, I don't want to solve global poverty. Probably I want to solve the poverty only in India. Maybe you may try to bring down it so that you can become a specific thing, right? And when you say that, okay, when you want to say, I want to solve an issue, when you're going to bounce off your idea, right, with many people, right, talking to people, you can call it as a formal interview, like where you bounce off your idea and check what other people wanted to tell, right? So here there is a lot of things that happen, right? You are, the way that you express your problem, the way that what you want to solve a problem, the way that how you define the scope of the problem, everything gets changed, gets altered, because you're getting a lot of feedback, right? So this is the same way of, let's say, how you say is, okay, let's say you have many things that, let's say you have a vast syllabus that you have, right? And then you say, okay, I can't read all these things for before an examination. Perhaps I'm going to concentrate only these things, because the reason is, maybe that is the easy, and that is, those are all the resources that you can do in a given set of time. Or this is what the previous, let's say, for the previous batch examinations, these were the questions that were asked. Perhaps they're going to ask questions only in this one, right? Or it could be that, okay, perhaps you can think that, okay, these are the things that the professor had emphasized during your class lectures, that, okay, this is what is, right? So even though the syllabus is very vast, probably for you to approach an examination, you will think that, okay, you will take clues either from your own internal, like how much energy that you have to, study for the exam, okay, how much time you have left to it. Like, one is your own talent, another is how much time you have, how much you can finish. The third one is some set of patterns, right, based on your previous, let's say, batch examinations, or based on what professor has emphasized. You take clues from everything. So that's where, right, empathize is exactly about, okay, how you wanted to, let's say, understand the problem and everything, right? Where you want to solve an exam, or how you want to solve a problem. So that is the whole thing in this step one. This is more basically done by, right, conducting, talking to so many people, getting your ideas crystallized, and so on and so forth. So that's this whole process where your idea gets formed. The second one is more structured way, right? Now you are defining the problem, right? How exactly, right? What exactly that you wanted to solve it, right? So when we take in a global, no, poverty issue, right? After a lot of interviews, then you decided that, okay, I want to solve poverty, let's say only in India, because you cannot travel everywhere in the globe, right? Because you don't have money, or maybe you are not a well-known person that everybody is going to take your idea. So then you start everything, or maybe you don't have enough resources to do everything, right? You say that, okay, I want to solve this problem. Define the problem is somewhere like where exactly you are very specific on what you wanted to approach. This could combine multiple use cases, or this could be your multiple thing, or this could be even encompass your whole vision of what you want to solve. This defining the problem is very, very crucial, because once this whole idea process gets designed as your, let's say, a company or anything, this will become your vision statement or your company's motto, right? What you exactly wanted to achieve, right? So typically, right, on an incubation phase, once an idea is formed, so that's where, right, once your problem is formed, that incubation, that whole thing, right, where you started as a small prototype, where you want to test the market, and where you say, let's say, either I'm going to get a funding, or I'm going to do a bootstrap thing, or many other ways of how you want to do it, and then slowly you branch it off to a company thing, right? Where exactly how you define that problem in that first incubation stages, right? That is exactly going to determine to your, let's say, your company's vision statement, or your company's motto, or everything like that, right? So that is going to do it, right? Any questions so far? This defining this problem is a very, very crucial thing, right? Many things, right? Even in medical field also, right? When they exactly say, right, after all your symptoms and everything, once they understand, right, what exactly is your root cause, what exactly is the diagnosis, then the treatment could be very, very efficient, right? So the whole defining the problem, even in, let's say, I'm just completely going off the field to a medical field, right, where exactly they see a lot of symptoms in a patient, and then finally saying that, okay, this is what is causing it, right? That cause, right, what exactly that you want to do. Likewise, in your whole idea process is where exactly what you wanted to solve, right? Once you clearly define what, right, define this one, right, then it becomes much easier, right? Because whatever happens, you don't change that one, right? Because this is the problem that you wanted to work. So many successful founders, if you think about it, right, when in all my interactions, everything, this step two, like where exactly what they wanted to solve in the market exactly defines them clearly. Because when many opportunities come, then they will be saying that, okay, is it going to like am I solving the problem that what I'm aiming for? If they say yes, then probably they'll take that opportunity. If they say no, right, if the answer is no, then they'll say, okay, I'm not going to take that opportunity. We will talk more about it, right, when we go down these slides. But this step to defining exactly your problem, right, that is very, very fundamental, right, in your whole idea process, right, in your whole your how you want to design it. Like once you define it, right, then a lot of, let's say, 60% of your problems is well solved, right? But how well you define it is going to be, like, very, very critical for let's say in your whole process, in your whole startup or in an incubation stages, right? The third step is ideate, right? Okay, once you define what exactly you do it, then you talk about how you want to solve that problem, right? So the defining is what, right? And then the step three is how you want to solve it, right? Okay, how am I going to do it, right? Am I going to do it in my own way, right? Well, I'm going to use it in my, let's say, as a one man person, or I'm going to take a team, or I am going to, let's say, solve using, let's say, I'm going to procure the materials and I'm going to design all by myself, or I'm going to partner with someone to do it, or I'm going to do it everything, right? uh, or let's say this, once this problem is there, like I'm going to see how I'm going to solve it. I'm going to do it in a manual way, I'm going to do it in an automated way, or I'm going to do create a website, or I'm going to do anything, right? So this, I like, when we talk about this whole design thinking, this could be, let's say, starting a startup company for an IT based, or for a product based, or let's say for even a, let's say, a mechanical engineering or even an electrical engineering component. Everywhere the framework is typically the same, right? How exactly where you wanted to how you want to solve this step three, right? So this is about, let's say, um, how the journey is going to be, right? Mapping your customer journey, or mapping your sales journey, or mapping your procurement journey. Everything is going to be there in this ideation process. You're going to think, okay, where exactly it could very well, right, that defining the problem is mostly your company, your motto or your vision. Step three is exactly more about how you want to execute it, where you want to execute it, when you want to execute those idea this one. That's where you are step three. So I would say step two is more strategic. Step three is more tactical, right? Strategic is kind of a vision, right? And step three is tactical. For example, let's say in since elections are around the corner, like I'm just going to say, step two is more about, let's say, I want to win the election, right? Step three is, okay, how am I going to win the election? Am I going to call the voters, or I'm going to go street by street, or ward by ward, or council by council? Go it, right? So this is the way, right? Step two is strategic. Step three is tactical of what you want to do it, right? The step four is prototype. Prototype meaning it is the execution part of it, right? So when I say where exactly is, so now you have defined the step two, what you want to solve. Step three is how you are going to solve. In this step four, it is more about, okay, uh, the exactly it's your execution phase, like how we are going to solve, right? So like the step three is tactical, step four is more execution, right? It is like, okay, in an election scenario, okay, now I'm going to go street by street, right? I'm going to have my let's say meetings, right? I'm going to talk to the voters, or I'm going to call voters to your place, or I'm going to, let's say in a street and I'm going to get, let's say 100 people, right? I'm going to have a, let's say a vast auditorium and then do it an indoor meeting or an outdoor meeting. That is the execution of it. Or I'm going to distribute pamphlets and everything, right? How exactly that you are distributing it is your prototyping, right? That is your means of executing your idea, right? So step 2 is your strategic vision. Step 3 is your step towards your strategic, like how exactly, what is the method, what is the way that you are going to execute your vision. Step 4 is exactly the execution of, okay, that is aligning to your strategy, right, which is defined in the step 2, right? And step 5 is testing it, right? So now when I have distributed pamphlets, right, or when I have conducted a meeting, or when I have conducted an auditorium, let's say, or when I have given an online digital advertisement in newspapers, how the let's say my electorates have received it, right? Testing it, okay, are they supporting my candidature, or am I addressing the problem, right? All these things, right? So that is your testing of it, right? So in terms of the startup world, right, so just going back to it, step 2 is your defining your problem, right, where exactly that we talked about your strategy. Step 3 is more tactical. Step 4 is how exactly you do it. Let's say we are executing it by, let's say, conducting a website, right, where we launch a website and do it, okay. Step 5 is testing it, right? So now we do a kind of okay, now we are going to acquire customers. Okay, how we are going to do it? We are going to, let's say, advertise in, let's say, Google, like we are going to have some ads. Okay, when people are going to click on that ad, it's going to come to our website. Okay, now on testing it, okay, now I'm going to show a website, and let's say, for example, I'm going to test the colors, right? Let's say if I put the color in red, okay, am I getting more customers? Or if I put the website in green, right, am I getting more customers? Or when I have this one, like where exactly in the pages, let's say I have 3 pages, where exactly the customers are dropping off and everything, right? Those A/B the testing, or the number of footfalls on your digital website, or where exactly your conversion is happening. All those things is your testing of this one, right? Once you test it, once you launch everything, how you are going to measure it and see whether does it align to your strategy, and everything is what is whole, let's say, in this whole design thinking process. Any questions so far on this 5 steps that which we have talked about, team? Fair enough. Can we proceed?
Yes,
Sorry. So did anybody say something? I'm sorry, I was not able to hear you guys.
Yes, sir, we can proceed.
Okay. So now the next one is, okay, it's about different. That's all right. We have a young audience also in the team. Right? So some of the 4 things that which I wanted to do it is, right. So challenging an orthodoxy, right? Right. Where exactly, right? Okay. Where I wanted you to say, let's say, so one thing I always tell, right, in my at my workplace, with to my team members and also to my managers, like I don't like that status quo, right? I don't like, okay, things have been done in this past in this way. Why we have to like still follow the same thing, right? We have to adapt to the changing times. Bro. We cannot be doing the same thing again and again, right? So like the reason why I brought this slide, right? Why I wanted to do it is, okay, like whenever like I've talked to my team, like who are also like, or whenever I talk to the fellow entrepreneurs, or when I ever talk to my friends who are well accomplished, they say that they have an idea, but okay, where exactly to do it, right? Or how exactly to do it, let's say, for my idea is, these at least there are like 4 places typically, right, on a broad scale, where exactly when things are status quo, you may want to challenge, right? Whether, okay, do we want to do it, right? Do we still want to do the same way just because things have been done in the same past? See, I'm not talking, let's say, like a rebellious, or let's say I'm just to have to break the traditions or the institutions or everything, but I'm saying that, okay, for us to be more efficient, there are things that can be done in a different way, right? Where we can do it, we can challenge the status quo, okay? Okay, so we will talk about each of these four broad principles, right, with a solid example that which we see in today's market as well. So that's one place like where you can see, okay, whether I can get anything. Like you see something very status quo, right? We can see whether, okay, can we start challenging that one. The second one is where you see a different kind of trend that is happening, right? Where exactly the market is going, where exactly the customer is going for, right? Where you kind of look into those trends and harness those trends, right? So we will talk about this as well, like with a solid example. And you guys say whether is that a place, like where is that a place how they have harnessed those trends. The third place is leveraging the resources. So you have definite set of resources that are doing, let's say, a task A, but you can use the same set of resources and do something a different task B, because you already have the complete framework and you can do it. And this is creating a completely a new market and everything. So this is you're leveraging your resources to do something different. And the fourth one is understanding the needs, right? So the customers clearly want something and that is not fulfilled by the existing market. And you tap into that one and see exactly what they want and create completely a new thing, a niche for yourself, and see how it is. So these are the four places where your ideas can form. One is your what is currently happening. Two is currently where exactly the needle will go, right? Looking into the future. The challenging orthodoxy is what is done in the past and what is still carried on from the past, from the burdens of your past. You challenge that, you create an opportunity. Harnessing trends is what the present thing is going and how the future is going to be based on your present, right? That is harnessing trends. Leveraging resources is, okay, I have certain things, I'm going to define the future in this way, is your resources. And fourth one is, okay, in the present I am not happy, but in the future I want to make them happy by creating something new, changing the present and creating a new future, right? So this is what I call, and this is the reason why I typically like this idea, right? So challenging orthodoxy is your past and present, harnessing trends is your present and how the future is going to be, leveraging resources is what you have in present and you create beautiful future. And fourth one is with the present, the future is going to be bad, but with the present, you're going to see, I'm going to create a new future. That is the reason why I like this kind of slide when they present it for innovation, right? So how your past, present, and future is defined, like defines your design principles. So that's the reason why I brought this slide, and this is my explanation towards this. Now, let's look at these four principles and see how, let's say, in the current market, right, which company has utilized these kind of principles, right? For example, challenging orthodoxies. Like, do you guys have any ideas like where you can try to fit one, let's say, a company into each of these buckets, right? One company for each of these buckets. Challenging orthodoxies. You guys have any idea, or who have done this successfully? Right. So let's probably like any this one. Okay, so maybe I'll give you an example so that at least on the other three, at least you can also think through these lines, right? In challenging orthodoxies, let's say typically every company, right? Let's say so for example, when I was working for Infosys, so every company, what they used to do is they used to, let's say, have definite their shuttles, and every company, like every employee, will go to a set of, a office location and start working, right? So this was all happening, right? The work from home was never an option, right? But it was, but when this COVID thing that happened, right, now employees are, let's say, going to work from home, right? So but this was an forced, like where the status quo, like all these clients, right, they were saying that, okay, we they took a lot of pride in building a huge campuses, right? Let's say 25,000 seater office or 50,000 seater office, right? Let's say TCS has built somewhere down in the ECR road, like where they can host close to 20,000 people or 50,000 people. And there are so many things that they do it and everything. But given this COVID situation, and where, let's say, people have started, let's say, working from home, And interestingly, right, there are pros and cons to this. Interestingly, what you have seen is that people have started contributing more, their productivity is more, and they don't waste time in commuting. And whatever that is, there is a bit of a work-life balance there. Now, recently, you would have seen that TCS have now said that, okay, by 2025, we want to bring like 30% of people to start working from home, right? Previously, they were taking pride in, let's say, bringing all their 100% staff into their office. Now they are saying that, okay, now we are going to do it. Right? What was done successfully well, right? Where every employee was doing it. Now, when they see that things have changed, now they have started redefining these things, right? So once you start working from home, so now you have to ensure that, okay, how you are going to monitor that employee, what are all the benefits that you are going to give. So you have to give him a good work table, good executive chair for him to sit, a very good internet, like additional monitors, whatever the things that what you do in an office, you have to provide that to an employee and everything. So, but that is where it is, right? When new things happen, like you can't be doing the same thing again and again. You have to go ahead and do it. And I think the reason why I brought TCS as one of the examples, I think they were the first one to say that, okay, we are going to do it. And it became a success. So that's what, so they are able to go, let's say, get rid of their old practice, which was working well for them, and say that, okay, now I'm going to do it. Now, if you ask me whether do I want to go to office, probably I may hesitate now, right? Because I'm doing well working from home. I'm able to monitor my team. I'm able to get on using all those, let's say, online meetings and everything. I'm able to do it really, really well, right? So this is one place example for challenging orthodoxy. Harnessing trends, right? Do you, like, any of you have any example of like which company has done really successfully in doing this harnessing trends?
Payment platforms like Paytm or something. Say they catch up the internet trend and they moved the banking sector to a mobile.
Fantastic. That Paytm, you can also say it as a, let's say, on your challenging orthodoxies, right? So typically banks were doing exactly the same thing, right? In the same typical way, like where you have to go to bank and then the bank was, let's say, you have to issue a check or a thing. But Paytm, like they revolutionized the whole Paytm thing, like where they challenged the orthodoxy. They created a digital platform, like where you can transfer money from one person to another, right? Using their platform, using the banks and everything. So that was one thing. Harnessing trends, probably, I would think, let's say, for example, Geo, launch of Geo, right? So when Mukesh Ambani launched that one, so he saw a whole revolutionary wave, like where people were, let's say, using mobile phones, right? So if you see, right, suddenly, like you see, if you see the mobile curve of India, right, suddenly in the starting from 2006 to 2010, there was a phenomenal burst of, let's say, the mobile phones and everything, right? People started using mobile phones and so on. So when I was a graduate, like student in Anna University, I used to have a mobile phone. So it was a Aircel operator, and one outgoing call was like 40 minutes, sorry, 40 rupees per minute, and the incoming call was, let's say, 12 rupees per minute at that time, right? So this was in 99, like when I first got my cell phone. It was like, it was simple of just a, let's say, if you ask me, well, because it was damn expensive, right? But it was, let's say, I was stupid, right? And I was young and I was equally very stupid. So it was a moment of pride for me to show to my fellow friends that I have a phone, right? And so I don't mind, like, if you ask, like, if you go to the PCO, right, the telephone booth, like where you can, let's say, place an outgoing call for, let's say, 1 rupee per minute, or let's say 1 rupee for 3 minutes, right? So, but it was like, spending that one was a stupid thing that I would not go back and do that same thing again. Probably I'm more wise in retrospect, but that was the thing that. But if you see from 99, like the mobile handset was increasing, right? Then the handset population was tremendously increasing. And then when Mukesh Ambani, like after the consolidation of all the spectrum and everything, they say that, okay, I'm going to see that there is a whole huge outburst and I'm going to do it. And the way that they did it is, right, so they looked at those trends and they said that there's going to be a huge population, there's a huge opportunity. Then they launched their Geo. they did something phenomenally really well, and now they are the leaders in the market. They are like 45% of say 4G subscribers now. And so that's where like they saw this mobile trends that were happening, and they were able to successfully lure it, right? And then if you see it, they made a major leap in their growth story, right? So they all their population, like they got 45%. And now if you think about it, everybody has, or at least when I say everybody, let's say in the tier one cities, like where people are having two SIMs, one in let's say in Airtel, another in Geo, one in Vodafone, another in Geo. The other option is Geo, right? Because they were giving free data and everything. So that was something harnessing trends. So once again, right, when they gave free data and everything, they were challenging orthodoxies, right? That means like people, Airtel, Vodafone, they were all charging for all the data and everything. Now, Geo said, I'm going to give them for free, right? You challenged it, you just, the customers don't need to pay for it. Once they buy your handset, once they buy your sub-service, things have to come for free, right? So they changed that one. So that was a challenging orthodoxy. The launch of Geo platform, right? The Geo cell phone itself is a looking at trends and then doing it, right? Harnessing that one. Leveraging resources, right? Am I clear on that one? You can confront me. Like if you guys don't agree with me, you can always ask me questions. You guys okay with that one? So the next one is leveraging resources. Anybody has any idea of which one has done really well with leveraging resources? In just one, the assumption that you have to make is leveraging resources. You already have that existing resources. How you are going to tap into the same thing again, right? So that's your leveraging resources. Anybody has any question, thoughts? So let's talk about, let's say, this Zoom call, right? So previously Zoom was used only for, let's say, companies for meetings, right? So when people were, let's say, they were designed for, let's say, for a collaboration tool for everybody in different place. When this whole COVID thing happened, right? Not only companies started using it, right? Slowly, like universities, academic institutions started using it. Schools, right? If you see my daughter, now she's taking online classes using Zoom or Google Meet and everything, right? Um, right. So now, how Zoom, right? So they were, let's say, thinking, let's say, okay, the market is going to be, let's say, I'm going to have only, let's say, just for our conversation's sake, let's say I'm going to have only 1 million subscribers every month. Now suddenly with this COVID and Corona thing and everything, where everybody has gone into this online mode, now they have to leverage their resources to, right, get into that, let's say 1 million or 1 billion, right? So that everybody can start using it. So that way they have the same existing platform, but they have to tremendously scale to create new growth, right? If you see, everything has gone into, let's say, Zoom have taken almost the market share of the uh, online meetings and everything. So they use their leverage resources, and they created completely growth, not only in the companies, right, also in the academic institutions, and also into educational institutions like schools and everything, right? And even, let's say, for us to meet, right? Let's say to meet, right? We never used WhatsApp or anything. So we all logged into Zoom and then shared our faces. After 22 years, right? We all met. So it was thing, right? So Zoom had captured that mind of online meeting, not only as a collaboration tool, as a meeting tool for office culture, but also for things, for your social, for educational, for your all your interviews and everything. Everything has gone into Zoom, right? It's the same, leveraging the same existing resources, how they created the new growth there, right? So that's an excellent example of leveraging resources to create the same thing. Likewise, if you see, right now, Geo, if you look at the same case of Geo, right? Uh, or why don't you forget Geo, right? Now you think about Swiggy, right? Swiggy or Zomato as well, right? So that is also a classic. Previously, they were doing it only, let's say, right, for the delivery. Let's say when you order to hotel, when you hotel, then the hotel say, okay, I can deliver through Swiggy, or you can say that, okay, Swiggy, go and pick it, right? So this was very thing. very minimal thing, and they were doing it, let's say, for the businesses that they were tying to. But when this whole COVID thing happened, Swiggy, right, not only like where you do it from your hotels or let's say thing, they also did from, let's say, moving the goods from A to B or getting the goods from B to A as well, right? Let's say if I want to send something to my dad who's in Anna Nagar, Swiggy also picked up the, like I can do a pickup task, pick up from here and deliver it at my dad's place, right? Because of Corona, like when we are not able to go, so we were able to send things to my dad, right? Also, like likewise in the other way, like where you ordered from hotel, right? So it from Sangeeta Hotel, they came and delivered food at my place. So picking it up. So Swiggy had those resources, right? Now previously they were doing just only a pickup and a drop. Now they say, okay, I'll do a pickup from here and I'll also drop to a different place. It need not be business. I can also use individuals to individuals as well, right? And it need not be like then Swiggy said that okay, it need not be your hotel food, right, where I deliver. It can also be your vegetables, or it can also be your groceries, or it can also be your meat stuff that you wanted to buy from, let's say, Fipola, right? So now they started, like they had the same resources, right? They had a fleet of army, like who were flying in vehicles going from one location to another. How they same set of resources, some changing in app, right, and educating the customers. Now they were able to do the same thing. It was same exactly the leveraging of resources, but they created a completely a new business opportunity of delivering goods and everything. Is that clear on leveraging resources? How the same thing, right? So in all these things, like where I wanted to go back is, right, how exactly, right, when the idea, like how they took that idea, right? For example, in harnessing trends, how Geo saw that, okay, the mobile population is increasing. Now I'm going to launch uh, a service, right? When the opportunity presented, how I'm going to scale. Swiggy, right? When they say that, okay, when this was there, now I'm going to do it, tap this customer and then help goods to move from A to B, from one customer to another customer. All those things, how they have kind of now adapted to the changing prevailing circumstances there, right? Going back to one more thing, like telling it, like challenging orthodoxy, right? I want to even give, let's say, this Olas and Ubers, that's also a challenging orthodoxy, right? So typically, right, so let's say go like 5 years back, we were all used to, let's say, go to a road and then stop an auto, take an auto and then go it. We never thought that, okay, and then how it kind of innovated it, like you had your favorite auto drivers, you would store it and you know that is in your locality, he just goes only in your beat. So you will call him, you'll schedule a time and then do it, right? So this is what is happening. Like let's say previously also used to have fast track, like where you have to call a number and then do it and everything, right? But fast track had a set of drivers, they had their vehicles, right? Auto drivers, they were all there and everything. But if you see Ola and Uber, now you said that okay, you don't need to, let's say, go to the road and do it, right? You can just do it at your doorstep, right? I will tell you, right? You just make a request to me. I'll call the auto driver or the taxi driver, right? And they will come to your doorstep. And you don't need to even be on the road. I'll tell you when the door has, like when the customer, like when the auto or the cab has come, and then you can come to your, come outside and then get on to this one. You don't need to pay them, right? On this one, you pay to me, I will pay them, right? So these are all the challenging orthodoxies, how they change the whole way this whole transport thing have happened. Now, if you look at it, if you go to the road, right, before the corona, the number of times that people have stopped auto while flying, right, on the road has become very, very less. People just tap into their Ola app or Uber app to schedule a pickup and everything. So that was a very good example for challenging orthodoxy, right? You guys agree with that idea? Team?
Yes, sir.
As for just for team or with the idea that okay, how the orthodoxy was challenged? Okay. Now going on, right? Um, Understanding needs, right? Okay. So this is a classic example of okay, what are the unmet needs and customer frustrations? See, here I wanted to give a classic example of, let's say, the amazing innovators, right? For example, Steve Jobs, right? He created, I don't know how many of you have seen that video of how he introduced iPod. So maybe one thing that you guys have to do is go to let's say YouTube and search for how Steve Jobs introduced iPods, right? So he would go and like on a conference, he'll say, hey, on his jeans, right, on his denims, he'll just say, I've never understood what the small pocket was there, right? On a jeans pant, like you'll have a small pocket on your right and left hand side. Like it was like what exactly you can store there. It was always there, right? You, and then he said that I'm going to fit that iPod, and then he'll take that and he'll introduce that iPod, right? This is not about understanding needs or anything. Like, okay, I'm not saying that, okay, just to fit that one, he designed iPod, right? No, I'm not saying that as a joke. But what he saw, how he introduced that iPod, that captured everyone's imagination. And he said, what was that tiny device? And he said that you can play that music, okay? Previously, the things that, okay, let's say what Philips had, what Sony had as a small player tying to your earbuds was the Walkmans, how Walkmans have graduated into iPods. If you see that journey, everything has become, let's say, loaded into a very, very small device. And he said that, okay, this is going to tap into persons, right? All this people, let's say, who want to just listen to their music and who don't need to store devices, change cassettes or anything. It's going to be onto this digital device and everything. He defined that this is what the customer wants and this is how I have to design it, and then tapped into that one, telling customer that, hey, this is what you need, right? And then all customers like you and me faithfully, adopted to Steve Jobs' vision that, okay, this is what we need. We just took that one. That's brilliance of Steve Jobs, of understanding, okay, there is a need, and he designed what exactly the customer needs, and then tell them that this is what you are going to get. That is one. Likewise, Tesla, right? When they designed their own electric car, right? When all this petrol and diesels, the fluctuating prices, how they were producing vehicles that were, or manufacturing vehicles that had a lot of defects, lot of accidents and everything. Tesla said that, okay, I'm going to design a car, okay, that's going to be without any driver. All those kind of things, like where exactly. Now, if you see, like Tesla is slowly kind of improving. They're slowly, entering all those markets and everything. This is where understand the needs and where the customer frustrations are, and then tapping into that one. So this is the four principles of innovation, right? Where exactly, like where you exactly see those places and where exactly you can formulate your ideas and then start looking into it. One is going through your past and then see that, okay, past and present, say that this is, I don't want this to be in future. That's one way of looking at it. Two, you look at present and see there is a tremendous growth opportunity, and then you build your own ideas out of that one. Leveraging resources is what you exactly have it right now, and then use it to create your future. Fourth, understanding needs is you see your customer getting frustrated in the present world, and you decide that what exactly you want in the future. In the challenging orthodoxies, we gave several examples of, let's say, this work at home. We talked about Geo giving this data free. We talked about Ola and Uber launching this whole transport platform where they challenged it. That's a challenging orthodoxy. Harnessing trends is how Geo looked into this whole usage of mobile, and then they launched their service. That's harnessing trends. Leveraging resources is how Swiggy, Zomato, Dunzo, instead of picking it for just for food delivery and everything, how they just use their existing resources to create a completely new opportunity, to attend to customer needs of, okay, transporting goods from one place to another or picking goods from one place to another, not only to food but expanding to different areas. We also talked about Zoom, how they kind of leverage their existing resources to be available for all use cases, like, let's say, offices, employee meetings, individual meetings, collaborative meetings, academic institutions, educational institutions, so on and so forth. Understanding needs is what exactly the customer wants, creating an electric car to get rid of petrol and diesel, or creating an electric car without a driver so that, okay, we are going to get rid of accidents on the road, or creating this whole problem of how you want to hear the music, because having those audio cassettes getting into a digital form, it was creating so much of hassles. How Steve Jobs planted it so that no, it becomes a new journey. I got the way of hearing music, how you store music and everything. So these were all the places where exactly has happened. Any questions so far? So here is an empty slide. Okay, what I thought we could do is, okay, how, okay, we can use this principles that we thought and how we can, let's say, use these principles and how we can adopt it, right? I want to give a solid example by doing it. If I type here, you guys can see it, or are you able to see my slides?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's start with an idea. Like, does anybody have an idea? Let's iterate through it. I'm okay. I'm open to any ideas that you guys have. Does anybody have any idea what exactly? Like, then we can just do the whole thing, right? We'll talk about whether it's really an idea. Then we'll go through it whether, okay, we will empathize that idea, and we'll define that idea. Then we will talk about ideas, how we wanted to execute that, and then we'll try to create the execution base, and then how we want to test it. Right? Let's go through the full journey there. Anybody has any idea? Any volunteers?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello,
Anybody?
sir. This is Santosh, research scholar from CEG Anna University.
Yeah. Hi, Santosh.
Hello, sir. So, can I share my idea? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are very much audible. Yes, I want to hear it. Just keep. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's about converting domestic wastewater into fresh water. So that's the basic idea. So almost 80% of the domestic wastewater consists of grey water, which is easily treatable at the household level. So I just wanted to convert domestic wastewater into fresh water using a technique called humidification dehumidification technique. That is thermal based technique.
Some technique, right? So you have a technique, right? So you have a, okay. So now let's go through this problem, right? So you have this problem. Why do you think? Why do you want to do it, right? Already, let's say when I open the water, let's say the corporation is giving it, right? Or else I can order a metro water lorry, right? They comes and dumps that into my sump. I can do it. Why exactly I have to do this?
See, actually, almost 80% of the wastewater that is coming out of a house is almost like grey water. So actually, the domestic grey water is easily treatable at household level. It doesn't need that much enhanced technique to convert it into a fresh water or to get into the sea area. So it's easily treatable at the household level. That's the basic idea. And second thing is that we depend upon metro water and other sources for fresh water. So why don't we take up fresh water from our own household level grey water? So that's the basic idea, as they do it in Japan countries. So we can, in a decentralized level conversion, we can convert it into a fresh water. So that's a basic idea.
So your pitch is about, okay. Your pitch is about this is right. Okay. Now, so can I say that your idea is right? Your pitch is about, let's say I'm using the word pitch because that's your way is. What you're saying is, so let's say um, just to format this so that it becomes a little better. Just one more. Suddenly, only when I need it, things don't come. I can't do it when I'm in the present mode, right? So I have to change it from present mode to this one. Okay, so am I still audible and visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your pitch is about bill at household level. Why do you want a dependence on other sources? Why waste money, right? Right. And already it is causing pollution and everything, right? So this is your pitch, right? So why don't we convert your, so your vision is your or vision or motto is, okay, converting. You want to let's say save every drop. Let's just say let's say save every drop of water. I'm just saying that, right? And so this is your vision or motto. This is exactly this is what you wanted to solve, right? So this is your, let's say, your define the problem. So this is what your problem statement, right?
Can I
I
just
want to save
elaborate
it.
on the same?
Sorry.
Can I just elaborate on the same, because this technique is based on waste heat recovery. So again, I wanted to concentrate on energy based things, that is electrical energy. Let us say we have an air conditioning system at household level where we can see the condenser unit is present at the top hole, that is
Yeah.
at the terrace. So this condenser unit, what to say, it gives out waste heat to the atmosphere. So again, the atmosphere gets polluted. So the basic idea is to use that waste heat for the conversion of this domestic wastewater into fresh water. So the whole project concentrates on two different aspects. One is converting wastewater into fresh water at the household level, and second thing is that using the waste heat that is getting out from the condenser unit of our own domestic air conditioning systems. So the project concentrates on these two things.
Okay. So there are two parts to this project, right? So let's say we'll get to that one. So thanks for saying that one, right? So you want to convert this. So this is your pitch. Let's say this will adopt to, let's say, Advani level, also to a person even in the level, right? Because even for his household level also, it is going to do it, right?
Excuse me, Kannan sir.
Yeah.
So your voice breaking, sir. So can you switch off your video, sir? Then we'll do.
Was it breaking for a long time, or is it just now? Is it better now?
Yes, sir. Sometimes, sir. Okay, sir.
So, okay, so now when we put this whole pitches, we want to address the whole 1.25 billion population of India, right? So when we see this, right, so this is going to be completely acceptable, right? Because when you put that AC thing, right, so that becomes, it is addressing only to people who have ACs at home, right? Or who have organizations who have ACs, air conditioning unit at home, right? For example, there are still many homes that do not even have one single air conditioner, right? Let's all accept to that fact, right? So since this is a great idea, right? We want to save every drop of water. We put it at a very macroscopic level. We want to save every drop of water, right? So now if you think about it, right? That water could have been from, let's say from your rivers or your rainwaters or everything, right? But what he is saying that I'm going to scope only on the domestic water, the water that is already coming, right? So that is what he's saying. Is that correct? So you're not going to worry about the rainwater, or you're not going to worry about the river water, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Right. So this is right. So your vision is you're completely a macroscopic level, but where exactly your idea is, right? So you're defining the problem as you're at as a, so empathizing the problem for us to save water is everybody agrees to that one. We have to do it because it's a natural resource, it's a diminishing resource. We have to save it. Defining the problem is exactly what we have done, right? We have saved every drop of water, which is an idea is that is what. So you have different ideas. For example, right, and just to say, right, just to make this one. So you have different ideas is, okay, save river water, right? Let's say save you can say save tap water, right? Save rainwater, right? So there are different ideas, but what we are going to focus is where our focus is going to be, right? It is about saving tap water or the domestic water, right? So that is what we are going to do it, right? So there are multiple ways of saving water, but we are going to save only this one. So this is what we are going to do it. The step 4 is prototyping. What exactly we want to do it, right? So this, right? So this is what we have done. So this is what his Santosh vision is. This one, right? Okay. So now we have this pitch. Let's just keep that one because that's why we go and right, how we want to do it and everything. We'll talk about each of those aspects as well. Okay. Okay. So now once we have defined what exactly we want to do, now he had an idea for prototyping, right? So he said there are two things that he can do. One, he can so there were two things that he can do. So one was using domestic thing, using domestic waste, and another was using the heat from air conditioning unit, right? So what was your first one? Can you tell me what exactly is this one?
No, actually, it is the same thing. Both are the same thing. And actually, I meant to, it was meant to be domestic air conditioning unit, or we'll say the AC unit that is present in every home. To be very microscopic, the condenser unit ejects the waste heat from your room actually, that is let into the atmosphere. So that heat is utilized for the conversion of wastewater into fresh water using a simple technique called as humidification dehumidification. I just wanted to elaborate on the same. It is nothing but an evaporation and condensation process.
Yeah.
So you evaporate the wastewater, that is the domestic wastewater, when it interacts with the hot air that is coming out of the air conditioning condenser unit, and this air becomes saturated. Again, you take up fresh water from the saturated air using the water that is passing at a low temperature. So it is a simple evaporation condensation kind of a technique.
Okay. So then your prerequisite is every household should have air conditioning, right? If they don't have an air conditioning, what happens then?
If we don't have air conditioning, the yield will be lesser. That's a major part, because we have been also working on getting fresh water from the ambient air. From
So
the ambient, yeah.
can we use something like, let's say you have this instant whatever that immersion heaters, right? So where you have to do it. So can we use that one? Let's say you collect all this domestic wastewater into, let's say, a drum, and then you can, let's say, use that one. Is that an option? No, I'm just asking.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that can be done. That can be done.
Right. So let's say, right. So this is, see, you are so in this method you are assuming that the unit should have an air conditioning, right? If they don't have an air conditioning, is there an option?
Yeah, that can be done. Actually, the water can be made to interact with the normal air, that is the ambient air, during summer seasons. So in a climatic condition like Indian climatic condition or Chennai climatic condition where humidity is higher, so the ambient air can also be treated to take up fresh water.
So using, let's say solar heaters, right? You can say that water treated using, let's say, solar heaters, right?
No, yeah, that can be done. That can be done.
Using solar heaters, right? So one idea is use the heat from AC unit. Another is using solar heaters and everything, right? So let's say these are our options, right? So we have let's say because heat is available everywhere, so we can say that, okay, now we are addressing all the population, right? So the thing is, I want you to think about, see, so we started with a big vision statement. There are many ideas that are there, but we focused on, let's say, only this one. And then within that one, right? Okay, every person is going to have some domestic water. How we are going to treat? Okay, you had one brilliant idea of how you can use the heat from AC unit. The other option where I wanted you to think is how exactly how people without air conditioning can also do. So water treated using solar. So this is one.
Yeah.
If solar heat the cell fail, or if there's no, like, for example, who are in extreme winters, for example, in remote areas of Jammu Kashmir, more particularly Kashmir, right? More remote areas of Kashmir, for example, Siachen, right? So where there is no heat and everything, where what exactly is there an option for that? Now, we don't need to solve everything, let's say, in our prototyping, but I wanted, the reason why I'm asking these questions is how we are going to address different use cases. So here in this use case, AC need to be present. If AC is not there, you can use solar panels. If solar panels are not present, is there an option for you? See, this the reason why I'm asking is, so if it is not there, it's okay. For example, for Ola or Uber, right? When they first designed it, they thought that every person will have a phone, right? So they can use it, right? So they can install this app and then they can communicate, schedule their pickup using this Ola app, right? So that was the whole idea where they have to do it. So when they are at home, they are at a home internet. When they are outside, so that means that you should have data connection. But right now, how they also talk, I don't know how many of you guys have used it. You can also call into Ola or Uber by sending an SMS, and then they will place a call to you, and then you do a schedule a pickup. Have you guys used that option? The reason why I'm saying this, right? How Ola or Uber solved, right? Okay, you should have a mobile phone. If you don't have a mobile phone, okay, and a data, you can at least send a text message to Ola, and then we will give you a call and you can do a pickup, right? So they were trying to address it. Now you ask me, what if you don't have, like, if I don't have a cell phone, then I can't solve that. So Ola, Uber does not work if you don't have a cell phone, right? So you can use it using your friend, but at least, so that is say that, okay, now Ola, Uber has accepted that, okay, I'm not going to address that population who are not going to have cell phone. So likewise, in your idea, your whole idea is, let's say they should have a AC unit. If it is not, you have a backup option. If they don't have AC unit and if there are no solar cells, that's it. The solution is not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Then we need to go for conventional heating.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea of that. Okay. So we are not going to address. So not going to address. Let's say address when AC or solar cells or not, solar panels are not present, right? So that's our assumption, right? So maybe when there's an opportunity, right, we will attack this population. But this is the whole. The reason why I'm asking these kind of questions, I want you to see where exactly, who are your customers, right? So this, in this prototyping, now you have identified who your customers are, right? You're able to understand that. So that's the whole idea of what exactly that we are doing in this whole process now, right? Now, in this prototyping, now you have to design some units, right? So that there is some, like, there is an installation part. You have to design some your device. So you have to design your device, which is going to, let's say, collect this water, treat this water using this one, right? So you have to have your design, right? I'm assuming you have that design there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, so I'm assuming this is done. Now the other thing that you have to do, since this is a design, now you have to see who is going to use your device. So, okay, first thing before, how easy to install, right? Do you need, when I say how easy to install, so now you have to think whether is it, let's say when I get it from Santosh, I can install it. Is it a self install or should I have to call a technician? Right? I want to think through that process, right?
Yeah.
So once you design it, you have to see how it is going to be, the installation part, right? Now I want to see about size of this device, right? Now, if it is going to be bulky, right? Is it going to take so much of my space? Is it going to be space occupying, right? Right? Then I need to know where should I install this, right? Should I have to install in my kitchen? Should I have to install in my toilets, or should I have to install in balcony or in my roof, right? Right? So you have to design that one, right? So, so the reason why I'm saying under design your device, so you have to talk of your design should all think about all these aspects of it. Is it space occupying? Where should I install? Whether is it going to be balcony? Maybe perhaps you may have all these ideas, but I want you to, we are just walking through this journey, right? Where should I install and everything? And then there's one more part which I think, at least when I buy this device from Santosh, is it aesthetic, right? When I say that, okay, no, I'm going to put that device, right? Wherever I'm going to put, is it like looking good, right? For example, right, we choose colors for our walls. We choose colors of our furniture. We want to see things are to be aesthetic. We want to be pleasing to our eyes. If somebody is going to come inside the kitchen, is that going to be, let's say, so bulky? It's just like another concrete pillar that's there, right? Is it so ugly, right? That there should be a sense of this one, right? That is something that which I wanted to know. And then how about this maintenance of this device, right? Is it like once you install, it just runs? Once you fit and then it runs forever, or it is periodic, runs forever, or is it periodic maintenance, right? So you need to, your design should include all these things. Is that, do I make sense?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Like other than Santosh, like do you guys have any other like how do you want to iterate a Santosh idea? Once you fit, runs forever, is it periodic maintenance? So likewise, the periodic maintenance, should I, this is self or is it technician, right? So these parts of it is going to get into your design, right?
Okay.
And let's just one moment. Let's so that once we do this, I'll remove this guy so that everybody can see what it is. Right. So while designing the device, right, I know you have a beautiful process, but in that, right, you have to think through your customer's viewpoint, right? I want you to think from customer's viewpoint. So this is thinking on behalf of customer. So while designing, right, you are thinking on this parts, right? So in your prototyping, you're going to think how easy to install, what is going to be the size of this and everything. So you're going to look at this one. So when you want to go this to the market, you may have to think through all these things, right? How exactly you're satisfying the customer needs, right? So because ultimately you want to sell it to the customer, so you have to think through this one, right? So perhaps on your prototyping, right, you are thinking, okay, before you prototyping, right? So you think on behalf of customer. So there is another, like, there are multiple topics here which we have to go through this. Let's do this, right? So when you think from customer's point, right? Customer's point. Think from let's say the technician point who is going to install, right? Point of view. Think from the manufacturer who is going to manufacture, and ultimately, all these three should be included as part of your mental or whatever physical design, right? So who was on Santosh mind, right? He should have all these three inputs, right? From the customer's point, the technician point, because for example, right? You guys know this inverter, right? It's such a beautiful thing, right? It charges, and when the current goes off, the current, let's say it comes from there, the direct current comes and powers your tube lights or fans and everything. It solves a beautiful problem. But the one disadvantage of it, right? From customer's point, it's a beautiful thing. It's easy once you fix those things. From the technician point, what it is so difficult is it is so bulky, right? If you take that inverter cell, that unit is really, really bulky. You need, let's say, one strong hands to lift it, or if you change your voltage from like to a multiple thing, if you have number of cells much higher because you want to power, let's say, your 4-bedroom house or everything, it becomes even more bulkier and bulkier. So from the technician point of view, that inverter thing has become really, really bad, right? So that is my problem in this manufacturer thing, right? So if you see all this, let's say this LEDs, like LED, if you see, it's a beautiful thing. For customer, it's such an elegant one. From the technician point of view, it is even, let's say, easy. Like you don't, because you remember in the old tube lights, you will have a starter, you will have a choke, you will have a tube light, then you should have wiring. Now in this LED, it's easy, right? Everything comes in one unit, just you pick it and do it. But from the manufacturer point, right? What is becoming problem is there is a lot of breakages, right? Those LEDs get broken, right? During manufacturing, during transportation, so on and so forth. So when you do it, right, it is easy for you to manufacture, and it is easy for you to send it to your suppliers, and it is easy for the technician, and it is easy for the customers, right? Think from technician point, and then we forgot, right? Think from suppliers point. Suppliers is who's going to sell it, right? The seller's point, right? Think from, and all these four things should be part of your mental or physical design of Santosh, right? Now, in this whole prototyping, what I want you to think is, another thing is, okay, what exactly I want to design in prototype, right? So I can't solve everything, right? No, I want to see it, right? So before we go there, now how exactly Santosh is going to develop his prototype? Okay, so now we are going to touch different aspects. One is, okay, use Santosh's own money, right? Santosh has got, let's say 1 lakh rupees, and he said that, okay, I'm going to design it, I'm going to do it, right? So he's going to do it, use Santosh's own money. Or Santosh has got an order, right, has got an order because he has sold an idea, let's say, to Anna University, right? He has sold to his idea, and Anna University is sponsoring it, and CEG is sponsoring his idea and gave him money, right? This is called as bootstrapping, right? That means that you procure an order, and then based on that order, you start manufacturing because you have sold your idea to someone and you are getting it. So that is one way of doing it, right? So now Santosh has an own money. That's one. Now Santosh can get an idea, like get an order, right? Using that order, he's building his product and then he's delivering it. Or Santosh, right? I think you, my guys might have seen Surya's movie, right? Surarai Potru, where he talks about this venture capital, right? Santosh sells his idea to VCs, right? Venture capitalists, right? Right. So that's one another way, and they fund his idea, right? That is one. Or if these three things doesn't happen, right? So all these three things are good, right? The another thing is Santosh gets help from incubation cells, right? So now he comes to Anna University, right, the incubation center, or he goes to IIT Madras incubation center, says that I have this, and they give all the tools and everything, right? So there are 4 different ways Santosh can start with this prototype, right? So this is how to start, Santosh, right? How to start. So how to start is this, right? Where exactly is getting this money? Any clear on this idea, guys?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, sir.
right. Now, the most important thing is now Santosh needs to decide, okay, on this whole thing, what exactly is going to accomplish in this prototype. So what is Santosh going to deliver in prototype? So these are the things that what Santosh wants to accomplish in this prototype, right? So now when you want to accomplish, so here is the question is, when I want to do it, I'm going to achieve all these 5 things, right? So Santosh has a mental map of how exactly he wants to design this, but is he going to incorporate everything and going to have all these features, right? So is he going to go completely with this 100% of design and elements? Is he going to fill? Is he going to, let's say, is he going to achieve 100% of his product specifications, right? Right, in the first spell, right? So in terms of, right, so in terms of, let's say, different viewpoints, right, what we thought about it, different design parts, or different cost parts, right? When I say cost, is he going to use money and everything, right? Different viewpoints, different design points and everything. So is he going to achieve 100% of his specifications? See, my type complete. Okay. Right? Is he going to achieve in this prototype, or since this is just a model, okay, I'm going to say, right, I'm going to do only the design part, right? I'm going to say something, okay, I'm going to design something, but I'm going to worry about all these things, right? Right? I'm going to worry about this later. I'm not going to worry about this right now at all, right? This I'm not going to worry. I'm not even worry about all these 4 health points. I'm not worried. I'm just going to worry just to make sure that at least I want to achieve. Santosh said, I want to achieve only the working model. I want to design a working model. This we call this as, when I want to say, like, I want to demonstrate, right? Design a working model that functions, right? When you say this, that means you are creating something called as minimum viable product, right? This is your MVP, people call this as, let's say, most valuable player or anything, like just like if Dhoni is there in a team, okay, then probably you have a high chance of winning, right? MVP. But MVP in our terminology is minimum viable product. What Santosh has to design so that at least he can ensure that this model is going to work, right? That is what Santosh is going to define a minimum viable product, right? So that is very important in designing or when you prototype. When you prototype, what exactly you want to deliver is a minimum viable product where it is going to say it is going to function well, right? It is going to ultimately, right, connect to your thing, right? Achieve your vision statement, right? In your vision statement, you say that, right, I want to save every drop of water. So when you say a minimum viable product, it is a working condition and it should tie to your vision of saving that water. That is what in this prototype that what Santosh is going to do about it. Any questions so far? So what Santosh wants to accomplish in prototyping is he wants to develop a minimum viable product that is going to function well and achieve his vision statement, right? Whether is he going to design all those viewpoints, design, cost parameters, we do not know, right? But that is something which he is going to do it in a subsequent stage, right? So this, what Santosh is going to deliver in prototype is a minimum viable product that he can demonstrate. Now we are also going to define who is going to use Santosh work, right? Santosh products, right? Today, right? In his let's say when Santosh, we had this 4 ways, right? Uh, where is this bootstrapping slide? Yeah. So this was how to start is something that it gave some kind of a deliver. So who's going to use Santosh products, right? So this is one thing, right? When Santosh uses his own money, so that means that in this model, Santosh has to find his own customers. Do you guys agree? Because Santosh built something, but now Santosh has to sell it to someone. So that means he has to find customers. So he's going to come to Kannan, he's going to come to Saravanan, he's going to come to Saktivel and asking that, hey, I have this working product, I have prototyped it, okay, I have put my own money, can you buy this? He's going to sell, he has to find his own customers. That's one. If Santosh has got an order, right, that means his customers, CEG is going to like buy it, right? Or Santosh is going to install for CEG, right? So that is where this is going to happen. So this is all about identifying your customers. The reason why we are getting identification of your customers is because once you prototype, you have to test it, right? So when you say test it, you have to test it with the customers one. So when I say testing, it is not about functioning like on this minimum viable product, Santosh himself would have tested that it is working in all conditions. He would have worked well, okay, with an AC, with a solar panel or whatever that is, that he's going to do everything there. So that testing is his own functional testing. Here in this testing is testing with your customers. So that is what we are doing. So identifying your customers. The next part is testing the customers. Now testing from the customer's point of view. If Santosh is going to install for CG, if Santosh is selling his idea to VCs, right, venture capitalists and everything, and they fund his ideas, here is also Santosh has to, in this journey also, Santosh has to find his own customers. If Santosh gets help from incubation cells, right, Santosh has to find his own customers, right? In these two options, there is another thing that which you can do, and VCs help identifying customers, right? And here also, the incubation centers also helps identifying customers. How incubation center helps? Maybe when they come up with like many industries or many, let's say, companies come, they may say that, hey, we have this entrepreneurship skills and people have designed these products, here it is this, and they demonstrate Santosh one, and they give an opportunity for Santosh to showcase his model and everything. So there is that opportunity there. In case of venture capitalist, the venture capitalist, while along with the funding, we can say that, okay, Santosh, perhaps now you can go to, let's say, instead of going to each domestic this one, why don't you go to, let's say, a big companies, let's say like Infosys or TCS, or some kind of a warehouse where you can try to see it, right? They can do it, and where these companies, because it comes from venture capitalists, they may say that, okay, Santosh, just try install it, just run it and see it, right? So they may help you there. There is a collaboration there. So this is where identifying your customers, where exactly who's going to use it. Now the part that which we want to next one is, when you say this testing, what exactly, how the feedback you got it from your customers. Okay, so now the feedback, the testing or feedback from your customers, that is where it is going to happen. Now when Santosh has sold it to individual customers, now today, right? So customers provided feedback, right? Either Santosh calls or Santosh sends an online form for them to submit, or Santosh goes to their homes to get their feedbacks, right? This is some way like where testing. So when exactly the testing, the usage is happening, customers doing it, Santosh asks with the customers whether what it is, right? So here is one way, right? Likewise, when it is industries or wherever it is doing it, Santosh, right? He goes to their homes and he, what happens? So this is the way that he gets his feedback. But what exactly is the testing? Is the test results will exactly come from, right? Any ideas how exactly the success of Santosh things, right? Success of test results, right? Of Santosh test will come from, where exactly will it come? So when he goes and completes, goes to customers and do it, or when he goes and sees, how exactly Santosh can see that his product is functioning well? Any team, any questions? Any ideas?
From the sharing of the experience by the end users to the society.
Sharing of experience
Yeah, by the end users to the society.
of end users. Okay. So now, essentially, right, your whole idea was to save every drop of water, right? So when customers confirm that water is reused or saved, that will tell you exactly your success, right? If the customer says, that means how they can say, hey, I did not reorder water from metro or lorry, right? Oh, I see very less wastage. So, right? When customers confirm that, okay, I'm recycling every water, or water is saved, or I'm not adding new water, that means your cell is working well. Is that a right way of looking at this problem, Santosh?
Hope so. Yeah.
Why you hope so? Because that was your vision, right? Your vision was to not to save every drop of water, right?
Mm-mm.
So if the customers confirm that the water is reused or saved, then
Mm-mm.
exactly that is what your test will do. That is exactly what you want to hear, right? That means that you have
Yeah,
done
yeah.
your test correctly, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, do you guys agree? Any other thoughts on how exactly the test will going to come? Team? So no feedback. So this is where you take an idea how exactly you run through different methodologies, right? Go through it, how you think through it tactfully, right? What exactly you want to solve. Let's say in your prototype, we want to solve only the people who have air conditioning, and you have another one where you can do it with solar heaters, but you have not done it in your prototyping, and you got, okay, what are all the design elements that need to go in along with the your uh, physical design, your design of that product. You thought through a different kind of viewpoints from customers, suppliers, technicians, manufacturers, and everything. This is how you are going to design it, because you thought through various endpoints, and how you are going to develop it, who's sponsoring that one. That is another thing that which we want to do it. Once you want to do it, like once you got the money, what exactly you're going to do it, you're going to demonstrate a minimum viable product. Once you do that one, you're going to see who are your going to be your customers, and how you are going to test it with your customers, how you are going to get it, sharing your like getting the experience from the customers, and customers finally, if they confirm that water is saved, then that means that you have designed it well, right? So we thought through this whole 5 steps and we demonstrated it, right? But sometimes when these things happen, right? So I want to tell you the reality of the story, right? When Santosh really launches, Santosh, I definitely not wish this. I want you to be very successful with your idea, but sometimes
Thank
things,
you.
no, sometimes things don't work well, right? Sometimes things will, great ideas can also result in failures, but that's all right. Even if it fails, it's okay. You can wear it as your badge of honor. But I want you to think, right? What exactly I want you to think through is we will fail, but I want you to think why we failed, what happened, why this happened, what did I fail wrong? Let's say on the customer's point of view or the business point of view. What exactly are the lessons that which we learned from this mistake, and how we are going to correct ourselves, right? I think you would have heard a lot of all this motivational series and everything. It is not about feeling, right? It is about bouncing back. If it happens in this whole entrepreneurship journey and everything, we are going to have a lot of setbacks, failures, and everything. But that's all right. We have to wear it as badge of honor. Go ahead and fight the next day. We cannot settle ourselves for failures, right? We are defined to be successful in any walk of life, but we have to take that in good spirit and then work. But you have to think through it. So when we fail, what I want you to think is, you have to see what it happened, why it happened, what was the impact, what lessons did we learn, and what are the corrective actions, right? Sometimes, right, the same kind of things can also result in success, right? When your idea becomes successful, at that time also, I want you to embrace that success, right, with all humility, and understand what exactly you did it that resulted success, right? Why the customers embraced it, right? So going back to your principles, right? Did we kind of understand the needs of customers, and did we fulfill their aspirations, or we kind of, let's say, what did we do? We challenged an orthodoxy and then we did something. So if you think about it, right, challenging orthodoxy and understanding needs, these are completely an innovative thing, right? Because they broke an institutional thought, or they created a new institutional thought. The harnessing trends and leveraging resources are kind of a practical way of implementing it, right? If you say there are innovation, one is a theoretical innovation, like where you envision something, that is, you are challenging orthodoxy and understanding needs. Harnessing trends and leveraging resources or something, it is a practical way of innovating and creating be successful there. So going back to quickly looking into our slides, right? So this is where, so when things happen, right, I want you guys to embrace both success and failure with lot of humility and go on with next steps. So this is the whole idea where I wanted to present you with my things, but I want to quickly walk through a different slides of who have done well, what exactly the market disruptors have done in the market, right? In all these things, right? How they have launched the product. I want to give at least my insight into what it is, right? You guys have heard this term farm. Okay, FONG means, right, these are all it's in the stock market terms. F stands for Facebook, A for Apple, A for Amazon, N for Netflix, G for Google, T is Tesla or SpaceX, right? So I put all these companies. The reason is it's not because they are, let's say, multinational companies or anything, but these are completely clear disruptions into the market, right? So I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to see what their principles were, right? So the reason why I bring, so this will tell you what are all the things that what went into their design elements and everything, right? So when Google started, right? So I want to think about it, right? So Marissa Mayer, she was the product designer for Google, right? So right now, if you go to google.com, what you see is right now it's very polluted. Even though you see a lot of white space and everything, you can type through your searches in this one. So previously, we used to have only one search box. It will be just plain and everything, and one user type it and then you have to enter it. So when Marissa Mayer was doing it, right, she asked a lot of customers to come and do it, right? As part of testing, she had a lot of focus groups and do it. In those all those focus groups where she was doing it, she had, right, different screens, right? One with a white screen, one with a black screen, one saying instructions, one doesn't say instructions and everything. But she, like, people were asking, like, when she presented a Google with just this one and have a just a lens to click on that, people were not clicking on the lens, where they just typed it and they just waiting for the page. But that click of that button, right, she didn't want to say that, okay, do it or click enter anything. She want the customer to know by themselves. So this is way in when I'm talking on 95 and 96. Now things have become very normal, like, okay, people press enter, people type it in browser, Google provides results. But that's something that she was thinking, right? She was focusing on the end user, the experience, what they have to do. And finally they educated customers, and that customer experience went as a word of mouth. So very long time, Steven stills, you see, Google has got a lot of white space because they don't want to populate anything, right? They want to keep it clean, and you just press it and do it, right? So let's say if you want to search something in, let's say, Hindu newspaper or CNN.com, you can still search. The underlying is a Google search, but right, the page is already polluted with a lot of news content, but Google did not do it, right? They just kept the user experience very clear, because this is what we want the customers to come and search. We don't want to confuse customers by clicking on this link or that one. So they always thought about the customer. So that was one of their innovating principles. So in Santosh Design, I want you to think on behalf of what the customer wants. You can clearly tell, like, what you can provide, right? But with that provide, you want to clearly attend to customers' needs and tell them, match those things. If you match that one, then there is a harmony. There's a clear that magic that happens. When Google thought about it, they thought about 10x, right? So they didn't think about, let's say, for million users. They were thinking already about billion users at that time. So they were thinking on a very big scale, right? So that was their by game kind of thing. So then they were betting on unique insights, right? This is about their whole double click, their marketing campaigns, how Google searches can be incorporated anywhere into everything and everything, right? So that is about whole there. The most important thing is launch and iterate. That was one of the key principles. That means that they quickly launch something. Okay, they may have failed or they may have been successful, but they learned from it and then kind of iterating on it. They repeated it, right? Likewise in Santosh model, he may have sent, let's say, 10 models, and he gets adverse feedback. Now he has to incorporate those adverse feedback into his model and then kind of iterate and build another compelling winning model. That is what it is. Now what they said is 20% time. Like what they say is every employees who were there working for Google, they said that, so they don't work, let's say if it is a 40 hours week, they don't task that employee with 40 hours of work. They task them only with 30 hours of work. In the way you go what you want. And you can choose your 10 hours. It can be 2 hours every day, or you can just take, like, let's say 1.5 days off and then work for 10 hours and then do innovation. They gave complete freedom to employees, and they were accessible to all those open IT, like they were accessible to everything. Like you can tap into any resource and everything. Default to open. So that what it means is Google, whenever they launch, They said that when customers are going to use it, I'm going to give them for free, right? So to the end users, all their frameworks, right, even the Android operating system, it is free. So if you see Samsung, it is built on Google's Android operating system. That operating system is free. So that's what Google wants to do. Everything is for free. But how they make money is from elsewhere, right? Uh, for example, in Santosh model, right? For Santosh to adopt, right? He can give that every customer can buy this product for free. But I'm going to charge, right? It's going to be, but everything I'm going to say that I'm going to be, let's say, 100 rupees every month for maintenance, right? But it is completely free, right? So when it's free, people tend to accept it, people tend to take it, right? So for Google, it is all open source, right? And and then how they make money was through their whatever those the ad tech. I don't know how much you guys know about those digital ad tech space. They were making it from your searches, the results that were coming from those Google searches, the advertisements that were coming on your side walls, on the rear side and everything in those real estates. That's where they were making money. When they fail well, that means that embrace those failures but learn to accept it and then bounce back from that. And what Google had at their on their innovation principle is they want you to work on things that really mattered for population, right? In a large scale. Because if your think is 10, that mission should be really worthy of it, right? Just like Santosh mission is to consume water is really worthy of it. It is not about just making money for few people. It has to be embraced by everyone. That's what Google's principles of innovation, how they think, right? But I think what we want to think is think 10x, think on a big scale, focus on the user. I think that we should take about it and fail well, embrace your failures, right? So those are the things, and most importantly, launch and iterate. Do something. Don't wait for, let's say, 3 years for you to launch a product. Just do it like 3 months, launch something, learn from it, then do it, right? That's one way of looking at it. I'm not saying that's the right way, but that is something that you can always have that as part of your entrepreneurship stint, right? The next one is Steve Jobs, right? Apple's way of doing it, right? So how Apple was doing things, right? How they were thinking into their design, how they were doing, they were looking at things like what they loved the most, right? It is not about what customers wanted. They kind of looked into what they love to do, what they wanted to do, right? And then tell customers that this is what you wanted, right? And they, when they want to do it, put a dent in the universe. That means you want to create a huge impact. So think of a scale, think how it is going to do it. Now many of the things kickstart your brain. The reason why I'm saying this, going back to our things, they don't want to leverage, let's say, the trends or the opportunities, the harnessing those opportunities. They don't want to do it. They want to come from that. Okay, you think about it, you just break those institutional thoughts, challenge the status quo, or completely forget everything. I'm going to create a new future, new musical experience, new laptop experience. So that was that original thing, that innovating thing, right? And the most important things is they don't want to, sell product. They want to sell dreams, right? So whenever they like, you like, even if you ask people, like, okay, I'm using iPod or I'm using iWatch, that means that they are just selling. That's a passion that, okay, it's Apple's, right? It is an experience that you are, embracing, right? Even going into an Apple store is an experience. It's not laid out as a typical another store, right? Like everything is stocked like where it is. The experience is something. So they are creating those dreams and they want to sell those dreams. And so that's it. That's a beautiful way of how they, created that experience, how they did that one. So that's a beautiful thing. And this is one more important thing. Say no to 1,000 things, right? So when you want to design it, right, in Santosh idea, there were many things that were coming into things. What were all the things that were coming in? He can be sure, like he can think through it and see whether what he wants to do, right? Now people will say that along with that, right? Okay, like in Santosh design, in kind of saving that water or tapping the domestic water, some people will say that, okay, along with this one, like while doing it, okay, create music, right? So that no, it kind of suits this one, right? Or like create some more kind of shells, like where people can keep their cell phones or anything, right? People have come with some crazy ideas, but Santosh has to go about and think about it, what I want to do. what exactly my customers want, and he has to say, no, my device is not going to be used for stalking things. My thing is not going to generate music. He has to have that clarity of vision, and he has to say no to 1,000 things. Even those 1,000 things can create you another opportunity, but you should be focused on what exactly you wanted. And it's because that 1,000 things, when you say yes to those things, you will start chasing those things and you'll lose focus on what exactly you wanted to do. That's Apple's way, but I'm not saying that is right or wrong, because that 1,000 things can create another opportunity, can create another company and everything. But so that's great. But Apple's way of doing was to just negate everything and then just focus on something that is pure, so that they can sell those dreams, right? Create insanely great experiences, right? When they say, they think everything is megalomaniac, everything has to be the best, everything has to be wonderful. There was never a compromise on any other thing. Master the message, that kind of tell like exactly like resonates with what exactly you want to sell those dreams and everything. That's Apple's way of doing it. And look at it, right? So these were their principles, right? On when they design products, when they thought through ideas, right? If it doesn't qualify, they were just negating those ideas, right? If it was just a status quo, like come on, just killed it. That's Apple way. What Amazon did was, see, if you go to Amazon.com, right? Like just compare to Google.com, Amazon's website is fully cluttered. It's everything is there. At the same thing, you see the today's deals, lighting deals, like what you shopped in the last product, things you may like. Okay, these are the best sellers. Everything is there. It's so much there, right? So the Google's search was completely blank, and Amazon is both cluttered, right? It's completely cluttered. There's not even one single real estate space there, but both are amazingly successful companies, right? So Google did something extraordinarily well. So that's what I want to say. Customers can have like both, right? They can keep something that is very clean, something they like it when it is everything cluttered. But what Amazon did well was, their focus was, I'm going to solve customers' problem, right? They were, everything is customer focused. They're not worried about the competitors. They're not worried about Flipkarts or the Walmarts of the world. They're completely customers solved about the customers. For example, when you say that your product did not come, Amazon will immediately refund your money, or they will resend for free, right? Or they will, like, say, if you say that the product is coming delayed and everything, or you say that, okay, this I was expecting for my daughter's birthday, it's not come, Amazon will immediately expedite that shipping, because they wanted to say that it is good, right? Uh, so I've been using Amazon for the last almost like 15, 20 years, 15 or more than that, 15 years. And so far, I've never had any complaints in Amazon. When I was in US, I was there, and the first thing that I did when I came back to India is to get an Amazon subscription in India, because it solved all my needs, right? And the same thing, right? So what their vision was, okay, we want to build things and we want to be the first, and we are willing to fail. So that's why if you see Amazon launch so many products, like Amazon's Fire Stick, right? Amazon had got an Amazon Echo, right? Just like Google, Amazon brought themselves a phone, right? Amazon phone. But they didn't, it all failed, but they don't matter. But they want to be a pioneers, and they wanted to learn from it, and they were betting more on the long term rather than the short terms. In the short term, they were prepared to take losses, but in the long term, they wanted to win. So most of them, their things were, Amazon way was looking more into the future. The next is Netflix way, right? Netflix is a streaming platform. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of what happened in US. So you, like, just like we had this, the renting cassettes, videos, digital libraries and everything, we used to have that in US, like blockbusters, Hollywood videos and everything. Netflix kind of, let's say that they challenge that orthodoxy. They say that I'm going to send all those cassettes, CDs, right? They used to come in compact disc, right? Because now everything has become digital. So they say that I'm going to mail it to the customers rather than customers coming into a store and then getting those things, right? Netflix challenged that one, and then they disrupted really well. So they got a whole customer base, and then they became digital. Then they started streaming platform. They started streaming movies, and then now when Netflix started producing their own shows, and then kind of one of the leading, let's say, digital platform provider that is there in the across the globe, right? So the four principles are very, very simple. Think big, right? Everybody thinks about scale, right? Google, Amazon, Apple, no, Netflix also. Like when you want to do think big, but their focus is start small, right? How they started is okay, just sending it through mail, then slowly kind of expanding it, and likewise fail quickly, scale fast, learn, embrace your failures, but come back and learn it, and then do it. So that was Netflix way. I'm just going a little fast here because I just want to be aware of the time. The next one is the Facebook, right? So we saw Amazon, Apple, uh, Google, Netflix. The last one is Facebook on this farm, FAANG. Facebook, right? They say that, okay, everyone in the company, right, has to be innovating. They have to learn by making. Nobody is like if in your team, in Santosh team, is everybody has to contribute, right? It cannot be just Santosh who is doing it. Everybody who's there, everybody has to do it. Everybody has to do things that are really essential to make that product win, contextual, that is to be living in the present and as well as in the how things are going to be in the future. And then they say that okay, they gave a culture to innovate or to come up with original ideas to change the environment. So you can work from your home, you can work from your office, or you can work in your, let's say, in your sports ground, whatever it is. Give everything for them with innovative design. This is one of the things that which I always like. When you come up with innovative ideas, thing, it is something, right? Uh, is to the best way is to alleviate, right, reduce the negative impact of the problem and ultimately eliminate the problem itself. That's an important line. And most importantly thing is good design is invisible, right? So when Olas and Ubers disrupted the whole kind of how we are transporting through autos or through fast track, right? If you think about it, they alleviated the negative impact of the problem because they were charging increasingly high prices from here to, let's say, for going to 1 kilometer, uh, autos will charge 30 or 40 rupees, right? And then if a person does not know the language, does not know the route, it charges even more higher. Now you see, right? Even if I go to a place like where I do not know the language, for example, I go to Bombay, I do not know Marathi or Hindi, I can still tap a Ola driver and then I can pay the, pay the price without uh, getting cheated, like the driver taking me a circuitous route, changing me, going hear me there or everything, without having a fear that he's going to mug me, right? That may rob me, or without having the fear that he's going to price me high or anything, right? So it alleviates all this negative impact of the problem. So Olas and Ubers, how they did it is the design, right? The whole design. But Olas and Ubers, they never said that okay, we are going to help you from mugging. We are going to help you from the price overcharge. They created a convenience, customer convenience. So that's what they did. So I wanted to emphasize on that part. Finally, on the Tesla or the SpaceX way, right? So if you see Elon Musk, he launched another satellite with astronauts into that one. There, and Tesla is the one that launches the electric cars. Their innovating principles, the way they think about through this design, or how you quickly move fast, do the impossible, right? Launching a satellite, think about it, right? How they did it, launching an electric car when there was no one in the market, right? Constantly innovate, right? So that's their whole idea. Reasons from first principles. When you say reason from first principles, you take it from the fundamental building blocks, right? So when they launched the satellite, they talked about okay, the whole thermodynamics, the cryogenics. They didn't take anything for granted. That means they were challenging the orthodoxy, right? Things were happened this way, okay, you do it this way. No, we'll charge right from the fundamental blocks and then do it. Think like owners. So when you are designing, when you're doing it, think that you are the owner, that you are going to launch it. You are going to be the next Ambani, or you're going to be the next Steve Jobs. And whomever you're bringing in, ensure that they are all into that problem, solving that problem, tapping into your vision. So these are the things that I wanted to present to you. Just to go back, just to uh, uh, summarize or conclude my presentation, like I want to leave you with this thought. right? This thought may not be the right way of looking into your problem, but this is one structured way of looking into your problem, right? Those 5 steps that which I do it. How you want to think through a design is you can challenge the status quo, you can look through the trends, or you can look through your capabilities, or you can see what the future is going to be. You can look into that one. But most fundamentally, as an entrepreneur, as a things that I want you, whether success or failures, embrace it, wear it as a badge of honor, but learn from it. Never stop. Always learn from things, right? It can come from anyone, from your team or from your customers or from your suppliers, manufacturers, or anyone, but always keep the open to ideas where you can know kind of know think through it, iterate it, and then kind of innovate yourself or innovate your products in the making. The last message that I want to leave to you is always be learning and keep your ears open to ideas. With this, I'm concluding. Any questions that you guys have? No?
No questions, sir. Very informative.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, sir.
So was it good? Was I
Sorry.
fast?
No, sir. Actually, due to Tufan cyclone, I entered at 11 o'clock. From 11, from 11 to 12, I enjoyed your session, sir. It is very good, very good.
Oh, thank you. So, Shaktivel sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kannan, sir.
So yeah, I'm concluding the session. So I will leave it to you for your closing words, and then I'll drop off from the session.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session. I hope this session will help the scholars and PG students to start their own startup in coming days. Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form. Okay. So if you have any doubts, please unmute yourself and ask your doubt.
And Shaktivel sir, with your permission, can I send my email address to anyone? If you guys have any, let's say, any questions,
Yes, yes,
anything
sir.
that you want to ask,
Yes,
you
sir.
can
Please ask, sir.
always. So I'm sending my email address. It's kannan.ganesan@gmail.com. Email me anything that you have. If I can be of any help, I'll definitely help you guys.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Able to type in feedback form. Why? Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form and you can leave from the meeting.